Deciphering Covert Language, The Hidden Messages. Chapter 1. The Invisible Threads of War. War isn't just fought with weapons, it's waged with words. Beneath the roar of gunfire and the rumble of tanks lies an invisible battlefield where information flows like blood through veins. On this silent front, the spoken word becomes a tool of survival, deception, and dominance. For Special Forces operatives, language isn't just a means of communication. It's a shield, a weapon, and sometimes the last lifeline. Imagine this: a team of operatives deep behind enemy lines, disguised, unarmed, surrounded by potential threats. Every movement is calculated, every word critical. To the untrained ear, their exchange sounds like casual small talk. But to those in the know, it's a coordinated update on enemy positions, a coded warning, or an immediate signal to prepare for extraction. This is the world of covert language, where the stakes are life or death, and understanding can be the difference between mission success and total collapse. In these operations, nothing is left to chance. Even the most seemingly normal phrases are pre-engineered. A mention of the weather could mean abort the mission. Asking for a cigarette might signal danger is near. In such high-risk environments, every syllable counts, and the margin for error is non-existent. The tension is relentless. Operatives must constantly decode messages on the fly while masking their own intentions from hostile eyes and ears. It's a balancing act, communicating with clarity to allies while remaining completely opaque to enemies. One misstep, one slip, one word said too plainly, and everything can unravel in seconds. Covert communication isn't just about protecting secrets. It's about controlling perception. Whether it's misdirecting an enemy, reassuring a shaken teammate, or triggering a prearranged action, words must serve a purpose far beyond their literal meaning. The battlefield may be physical, but the game being played is psychological, and language is at its core. This intricate web of coded speech is maintained under intense mental pressure, often in unfamiliar languages or dialects, under threat of capture or death. The stress is immense, and yet, Special Forces operators are trained not only to deliver these messages, but to detect them from others, sometimes based on nothing more than intonation or timing. In the chapters ahead, we'll peel back the layers of this hidden world. We'll explore how language is weaponized, why it's so effective, and how the art of subtle messaging continues to evolve in modern warfare and even civilian life. The next time you hear someone say something ordinary, ask yourself, what are they really saying? Chapter 2. The Art of Linguistic Camouflage. In the world of special operations, visibility is vulnerability. This principle doesn't only apply to movement and positioning, it applies just as critically to language. Just as soldiers use camouflage to blend into terrain, operatives use words to blend into conversation. But unlike a uniform or a hiding spot, linguistic camouflage isn't something you wear, it's something you become. At the heart of covert communication lies a simple but powerful idea. Ordinary words can carry extraordinary meaning. A phrase like, "The weather's changing," might sound like meaningless chatter to an outsider, but for an operative, it could trigger an extraction plan. In many operations, even asking for coffee, checking a watch, or commenting on a streetlight can mean the difference between life and death. This isn't about speaking in riddles or using obscure jargon. On the contrary, covert language thrives on familiarity. It's designed to go unnoticed. It relies on phrases so common, so harmless, that they fade into the background of normal life. That's where its power lies, hidden in plain sight. One of the most intriguing examples of this is the use of what operatives call patter, a form of rehearsed, natural-sounding dialogue that's actually packed with coded meaning. Imagine two agents seated in a cafe. One says, "I saw your sister yesterday, she was wearing red." It seems casual, but in their code, sister could mean surveillance, and red might indicate an active threat in the vicinity. These patterns are constructed with precision and practiced endlessly to ensure smooth, believable delivery. Developing such language takes time, strategy, and psychology. Every operative must be trained not only to understand code, but to embody it without hesitation. They must know how to layer multiple meanings into a sentence, all while maintaining the flow and rhythm of normal speech. It's a delicate balance between clarity for allies and total opacity to adversaries. This isn't just technical, it's deeply psychological. Coded communication is often built on shared memory, cultural references, inside jokes, or even trauma. The most effective covert languages are tailored to the personalities and relationships of the operatives using them. A childhood phrase, a quote from a movie, a word mispronounced on purpose, all of these can serve as anchors for encrypted meaning, known only to a trusted few. One famous historical example comes from World War II, when British agents would refer to Uncle Harry in letters to family members. To German censors, it was meaningless. But Uncle Harry referred to a supply drop zone, and the rest of the letter, when read with the right key, provided timing, coordinates, and mission objectives. Modern operatives have taken this further, incorporating multilingual layers, regional dialects, and even nonverbal cues into their communication frameworks. A nod, a pause, or a glance can completely change the meaning of a sentence. In the field, where radio silence is often mandatory and surveillance is constant, such subtlety isn't optional, it's survival. Technology has only added complexity. Encrypted text messages or emails might carry meaning not in the content, but in the timing, the misspellings, or the placement of emojis. Spies today are trained to use social media as a platform for communication, burying coded messages in seemingly banal posts, hidden in hashtags, image metadata, or even song lyrics. But all this raises a fundamental truth. Covert language isn't just about passing information. It's about control. It controls who knows what, when, and how. It creates compartments, boundaries, and shadows. For operatives, this becomes second nature. They live in a dual world, where every phrase they say can be both true and false, clear and opaque, all at once. In training, recruits must learn to speak in these layers. Exercises include improvisational dialogue under pressure, constructing new codes in real time, and maintaining composure when delivering double-meaning messages. They're taught not to memorize, but to internalize, to operate as if this linguistic camouflage were their native tongue. The consequences of getting it wrong are dire. A single word spoken too plainly, a look held too long, a phrase used in the wrong order. Any of these can blow cover, trigger suspicion, or even cost lives. That's why the art of covert language is constantly evolving, adapting to every new surveillance technology, political shift, and cultural landscape. It's easy to underestimate the power of a well-placed word. But in the hidden world of special operations, words are more than just tools. They're traps, lifelines, weapons, and camouflage. And for those trained in their use, the battlefield stretches far beyond bullets and bombs. It lives in the silences, in the pauses, and in every sentence that means far more than it seems. Chapter 3. Real-world covert communication cases. The concept of hidden messages may sound like something out of a spy thriller, but history is full of real covert communication, strategic, sophisticated, and often world-changing. These are not just stories of shadowy figures and coded letters. They are examples of how language, when weaponized with intent, can alter the course of war, topple regimes, or expose entire networks. Let's begin in World War II, arguably the golden age of covert communication. The British intelligence agency MI6 perfected the art of embedding messages in innocuous letters. In one case, a message sent to a prisoner of war appeared to be a heartfelt letter from a mother to her son. But hidden in the body of the letter, using microdots and invisible ink, was a detailed plan for a prison break, including a map of the facility and escape routes. These techniques were so effective that, to this day, we're still discovering messages missed by censors at the time. Another iconic example is the Duquesne spy ring, the largest espionage case in U.S. history. In the early 1940s, a group of 33 Nazi spies operated inside the United States, using radio broadcasts, coded letters, and innocuous phrases during phone calls to send intelligence back to Germany. Messages were buried in language about baseball scores, weather, and even grocery lists. What finally exposed the ring wasn't just surveillance. It was the ability of FBI cryptologists to understand the pattern behind seemingly harmless words. Then there's the famous case of the Navajo code talkers. Used by the U.S. Marines during World War II, these Native American soldiers spoke in a code based on the Navajo language, a language so complex and unwritten at the time that it proved unbreakable. They didn't just translate English into Navajo, they created a layered code within it. For example, a tank wasn't just called tank. It might be described metaphorically as a turtle or ironfish. This natural language, weaponized with strategy, became one of the most successful examples of covert communication in modern history. Fast forward to the Cold War, where intelligence agencies turned covert communication into a global chess match. The CIA developed dead drops and brush passes, but they also trained agents to communicate through prearranged visual cues, a folded newspaper, a chalk mark on a park bench, the way a briefcase was held. In one particularly chilling instance, a Soviet double agent signaled his handlers by placing a green bottle in a specific Moscow window. That single bottle could mean abort the meeting, change the location, or surveillance spotted, depending on the context. The message was crystal clear to the trained eye, completely invisible to everyone else. In the modern age, covert language has evolved into the digital space. During the Arab Spring and other recent uprisings, dissidents in countries with oppressive regimes used memes, music lyrics, and even game chats to pass information. In one case, protest organizers embedded rallying coordinates within the metadata of Instagram photos. The photo showed a sunset. The GPS tags told a very different story. Another striking example comes from terrorist networks who've learned to hide instructions in videos uploaded to YouTube. In some cases, the title of the video, the first 10 seconds of dialogue, or the frame rate encoding carries the actual message. In 2016, a group of hackers uncovered how ISIS operatives used code embedded in digital audio files to deliver instructions to recruits without ever typing a word. These cases aren't just fascinating, they're cautionary. In each, the cost of failure was immense. A misinterpreted word, a missed cue, or a premature reveal could mean the collapse of an entire operation, or worse, the deaths of agents in the field. In the Cold War, one U.S. operative was captured and executed because his phrasing during a covert radio transmission was 2 seconds too long, enough to signal to KGB interceptors that the call was staged. But covert communication isn't always used by the good guys. False flag operations, disinformation campaigns, and psychological warfare often employ the same tools to sow chaos. During recent conflicts, entire populations have been manipulated by subtle cues in state-run media, dog whistles embedded in political speeches, or phrases repeated on purpose to trigger unconscious responses. These examples show us that covert language is not a relic of the past. It's a living, evolving tool. It lives in your social feeds, your TV, your phone. The question isn't whether it's around you, it's whether you know how to see it. In the next chapter, we'll explore how Special Forces operatives are trained to pick up on these cues, and how the ability to hear the unsaid becomes their most valuable skill in the field. Chapter 4. Training the ear to hear the unsaid. You've heard it before. It's not what they said, it's what they didn't say. In Special Forces operations, this isn't just a figure of speech, it's a survival mechanism. The ability to detect hidden meaning, to hear the message beneath the message, is one of the most critical and difficult skills an operative must master. Because in the shadow world of espionage and covert ops, language isn't just spoken, it's performed. And only those trained to hear its rhythm, weight, and silence will survive. So how do you teach someone to hear what's not being said? The training begins by unlearning everything. Recruits are stripped of their assumptions about language. They are taught that words are just containers, and that the true contents are shaped by tone, timing, posture, and omission. A single pause between two words might suggest fear. A shift in eye contact might be a signal. A repeated word, spoken too often, might be a hidden command. Language is reduced to signals, and every signal becomes suspect. Operatives spend weeks immersed in sensory training environments, designed to sharpen their attention to the tiniest variations in speech and behavior. In soundproof rooms, they're played audio recordings at different speeds, under different distortions. Their task? Decode. Not just the content, but the speaker's intent. Was there urgency? Was it forced? Was it genuine or rehearsed? One of the most intense exercises is called the silent debrief. Recruits are shown a conversation between two people. No audio, just body language, gestures, and facial expressions. Then, they're asked to write down what was said, not literally, but emotionally and strategically. What was the power dynamic? What changed in the relationship mid-scene? What was concealed? This develops pattern recognition beyond words. It teaches them to detect subtext as sharply as they hear spoken orders. Another form of training involves coded improvisation. Two operatives are placed in a simulated field environment, a cafe, a checkpoint, a train station, and told to pass complex mission-critical data to each other without anyone in the room noticing. They might talk about lunch or a favorite movie, but beneath the surface, every word, every pause, every shared memory is part of a language within a language. Their instructors, often former field operatives themselves, watch with military precision. If even one phrase feels off to an untrained ear, the exercise fails. Some exercises are designed to simulate chaos. Stress drills where the operative must maintain a coded conversation while under sleep deprivation, loud ambient noise, or even simulated gunfire. Why? Because in the real world, you don't pass covert messages in calm rooms. You do it when your heart is pounding, your adrenaline is spiking, and every eye is on you. Perhaps the most challenging training of all is adaptive code shifting. Operatives are taught to alter their covert language on the fly. Imagine being in a foreign country where your known codebook has been compromised. You must instantly reframe your language using new metaphors, local slang, or even children's rhymes. Any structure that allows you to speak in plain sight while remaining undetected. It's like inventing a new language mid-sentence. Over time, recruits begin to think in dual meanings. They train their minds to encode and decode simultaneously. In conversation, they can hear a phrase and immediately assess, what's the surface message, and what might this mean to someone trained? They start seeing language like a chessboard, multi-layered, strategic, and dangerous. But training doesn't stop at speech. Operatives are drilled in non-verbal covert signals, from how to tap a finger to signal danger, to how to hand someone a napkin folded in a precise way to convey urgency. They learn that everything is a medium, a napkin, a shadow, even a typo. This kind of training creates hyper-attuned individuals, people who can walk into a room and instantly scan for double meanings, code shifts, or emotional tension. It's not just useful in war zones. Many go on to work in diplomatic circles, security analysis, or crisis negotiation, because once you've been trained to hear the unsaid, you see the world differently. You no longer trust the obvious, but there's a price. Many operatives describe a kind of psychological fatigue, a constant alertness that never truly switches off. Conversations with family become emotionally distant. Friendships erode under layers of internal analysis. Relationships falter when every word spoken is examined and cross-examined. It's the cost of hyper-perception, the blessing and the curse of being able to hear what no one else can. As we enter the final chapter, we'll step beyond the training ground and look at your role in this new age of information warfare. Covert language has always been a weapon, but now, in the 21st century, that weapon is no longer reserved for elite operatives. It's everywhere, embedded in our news, hidden in our social media, coded into memes, slogans, advertising, and even casual conversations. You are not just a passive observer. You are on the battlefield. And whether you realize it or not, the war for your perception has already begun. This is the age of information warfare, and covert language is its sharpest blade. Modern influence operations don't need guns or drones. They use narratives, carefully constructed and delivered with precision. Political actors, corporations, extremist groups, and intelligence agencies now rely on coded messaging to rally support, sow division, and shift public opinion, without ever appearing overtly manipulative. Consider the rise of dog whistles, phrases that sound neutral or vague to the general population, but carry a deeper, often incendiary, meaning to a specific group. These can be embedded in campaign speeches, viral videos, or social media posts. To most, they seem harmless, but to those who know the code, they trigger action, emotion, and alignment. It's covert communication in plain sight, weaponized for mass influence. Then there are the digital echo chambers, where language is shaped and reshaped through repetition. The same terms, hashtags, or catchphrases are used again and again to normalize extreme beliefs, manipulate data, or construct alternative realities. What starts as a harmless meme might carry an encrypted ideology beneath its humor, and if you're not trained to spot the subtext, you might share it, absorb it, and become a part of the message itself. Intelligence agencies have long known the power of semantic infiltration, introducing subtle changes to a population's vocabulary in order to shift cultural norms. Once a term enters common usage, it starts to shape how people think. Enhanced interrogation replaces torture. Collateral damage replaces civilian deaths. Words become shields, disguising reality. And unless you interrogate them, you become complicit in the illusion. So how can you defend yourself? The first step is to train your awareness. Pay attention not just to what is being said, but how it's being said, and what's being left out. Ask, what's the emotional tone? What's the context? What's the intended effect? Is this language meant to inform or to influence? When you start analyzing communication like an intelligence analyst, the patterns begin to emerge. Next, understand that language is never neutral. Every message has a source, a purpose, and a target. Who benefits from you believing this message? What assumptions are you being asked to make? What words are being redefined or co-opted? And finally, recognize your power. In this new age, you are both audience and amplifier. Every share, every comment, every click has impact. You're part of the information ecosystem, and with that comes responsibility. The more you understand covert language, the better equipped you are to resist manipulation and uncover the truth beneath the noise. This doesn't mean becoming paranoid. It means becoming literate. In the same way, an operative becomes fluent in reading between the lines. It's about reclaiming your agency in a world where information is weaponized, because the battlefield has shifted. It's no longer only in foreign lands or government backrooms. It's in your feed, your inbox, your conversations. And the most powerful operatives of this era won't carry rifles. They'll carry clarity. You've now glimpsed the world of covert communication, from the secret phrases whispered in war zones to the coded hashtags trending online. The question is, now that you can hear the hidden messages, what will you do with them? In a world where silence speaks volumes and ordinary words can carry extraordinary weight, understanding covert language isn't just a skill, it's a shield. We've pulled back the curtain on the invisible conversations shaping battlefields, politics, and everyday life. Now that you've seen how language can be weaponized, encrypted, and disguised, will you start listening differently? Because in this new age of information warfare, the real question isn't if you're being influenced. It's whether you can recognize it before it's too late. Stay alert, stay aware, and as always, keep questioning the obvious.